Okay, so we are now in a place where we've done our eyeshadow. We've got that kind of Halloween going on. Sorry, I'm just going to keep playing because I'm that person. Yes, you've got your eyeliner on, everything. This is now where I like to do the face. And for the sake of dancing, I'm going to use foundation that's way too dark. As you can see, I have not tanned, so this is going to look laughable, so you have to bear with me, but the process is there. The best foundations I quite like, so I use this one for competitions, Fit Me. At the moment I'm also just using, but yes, so kind of this one, which is also really good, but I prefer this one. But as you can see, I've got two very different colours here. The reason I like to have, I do have another like darker one of this one, but I can't find it. Is that it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so there's a darker one here. I like to have a kind of lighter one and a darker one, because when you tan and things go wrong, you never kind of know what colour you're going to be, because you kind of know a different colour every time. You have a rough idea. But what if you have two different colour foundations? What you can do is you can mix them until you get the right colour. Obviously, it's not going to be the right colour for me right now because I'm pale, but just bear with it, okay? So I'm going to take some pumps of the dark one and just keep basically blending until I have the right colour for me. Obviously it's not going to be the right colour for me, but here we are. So yeah, as you can see, I've kind of blended those two colours together. You can use a finger and just swirl them. I can use a brush because I'm a fancy bitch. And this is going to look horrific because it's going to be way too dark, but you're just going to have to come with me because I do tan this dark. So yeah, so you've obviously moisturised, your skin is ready to go, and you just want to paint your face. This would be about the colour I would be for like a dance tan. It might probably be slightly lighter actually. But my advice is with foundation is don't worry if it's a bit on the darker side. Because often your face can blend it down, and as well if you're adding other colours, if you're adding which I'll show you in a minute, if you're adding concealer, if you're adding other things, actually having that darker colour is not the end of the world. Do not be shy with foundation, kids. Just make sure that you kind of go for it, especially with dance. You know, dance makeup is not light makeup, it's not natural makeup, so don't massively panic if you think you're really going for it. It's the opposite with eyeshadow. I kind of start with a lot and then blend. So yeah, as you can see, I just like plopped it all over my face. I could have done that with a finger, I could have done that with whatever, just because I'm bougie, I've done it with a brush. But yeah, and then what I will do is I like to use a brush. You can use your fingers, you can use one of these bad boys, whatever you kind of prefer, you feel like you would be good. I think brushes are great for beginners, just like a nice thick dense brush that's kind of going to brush it on, and it does it really quick. So then you want to blend everything out. So what I'll do is I'll blend all the way with my face into my ears as well, because I find a lot of the time fake tan does not go in my ears particularly well. And you can see I'll have bits which I don't blend into because I'm going to cover them with concealer. Be careful when you're going around your brows, just because you don't want to go over that perfectly blended brow you've done. So just be a bit careful there. But you can see all I'm doing is kind of doing these like circular motions and different strokes. You also have to like laugh at the difference between my face and my neck, but just allow it, okay? Yes, so brush into the ear, just circular motions, blending all around that nose. You can under the eye, but you don't have to worry too much about under the eye because I'm going to put concealer there anyway. And then I get to here. What I then like to do is I'll have leftover on my hand. And so what I will do is I'll grab that leftover and blend it down my neck, and I will blend it into my tan, because you often find that tans have different undertones to your body, basically. So your tan and your foundation will have different undertones because of, like, you know, the nature of how that works. So you want to blend it in and blend them together to make sure that they're seamless. So I quite find that my tan is quite a green undertone, as if those who saw me at Blackpool knew, and my foundation has a more orangey undertone. So I just blend the two together to make sure that they're seamless. Yes, so if there's any bits that you want to go over, I sometimes like to press in the bits around my nose with a beauty blender, or especially I have big pores up here, so I'm just gonna do that. But yeah, so like a brush, even your fingers, like that's quite easily done. You just kind of blend that all over, and then we're gonna move on to concealer. Okie dokie, so that concealer that we use under the brow, you want to make sure that this is a lighter colour. So obviously mine is really, really light. But if you've got kind of like a slightly lighter colour, that's what I like to use. I'm actually going to go back in with this kind of cream product just because it's a bit heavier wearing. So cream concealers are heavier wearing. So if you're really kind of like, you want something that's going to stick on your face, go for a cream concealer. I use a bit of both just because, why not? And you want to use that concealer to first highlight your face is what we're going to do. So the highlighting points are under your eyes in that kind of V shape. Down the nose a little bit, then the forehead, Cupid's bow, chin, and I also like to do under the cheekbones. So yeah, so you can see there I've got kind of that highlighted position there. I also then like to take an even lighter concealer and just really go in with that, so I create even more dimension. You do not have to do this. I only do this because I am a crazy person and I like to reshape my face. But yeah, I'll only do that, as you can see, like in slightly selected areas. I won't do it under my cheekbones again, but I will just do it to make it kind of really tight. And then what I will do is you can take your brush, you can take whatever you want to blend this out. You can take your fingers. I then like to use a beauty blender to blend this out, but you just, oh, and I put black on my face. But yeah, you then just buff that out. Especially if you're doing it in a corner of your eyes. Oh my god, go away, brush hair. If you're doing it in a corner of your eyes, I like to use a little bit of a ring finger, like a little pinky or something, or the very inside edge of your sponge. But yeah, so just tapping that out, and what you can see it's done is you can see how it's shaping the face. Making your face, you basically draw on your bone structure. For this cheekbone one, I like to just buff that out with a brush because I care less about it. But yes, you can see the difference between obviously that one, but you can see the difference where I've kind of blended that out and created that new face shape. Okay, so we've just, I've just blended out the other side of my face. The next thing you want to do is powder, and if you are oily like me, you really want to do this kind of quickly. So what I will do is, you can probably see, as I'm kind of already, because I've left it for a minute, I've just got some crease under my eyes. So you want to tap that out with your finger or whatever you're using, and then powder under those eyes real quick. And I'm not shy with powder, as you're sure to see. But there's definitely places to focus the powder and places where if you use more powder it will look cakey. So the place to focus the powder, and if you have dry skin, I cannot stress this enough, do not over powder because your skin will look really cakey and it's just not good for your skin. If you have oily skin like me, absolutely go for it. And also you've got to bear in mind that we're dancing, so we're sweating, so that kind of powdery moment is quite important. So for places that oil, I will literally bash powder on. I use a loose powder, but also a foundation kind of like flat pack powder also works. I absolutely bash it on the chin and around the nose. I know I get really oily around my nose and on my forehead, so I will not be shy with that powder. Literally put it all over. And also you can see it has that blurring effect. So it kind of, and then I will put it on my cheeks, a little bit less so, but I do put it on my cheeks. And as you can see where I've put a powder everywhere, it does kind of like pale me up a little bit as well. I mean, in comparison to what I was. Just between, so literally don't be shy with powder, especially if you've got oily skin. Obviously with dry skin, not so much. You don't want to overdo it. But for dancing competitions, when it's sweat and all that good stuff, make sure you're getting it on. I also forgot to mention, before you powder, if you've got any spots or any kind of like blemishes that you want to come up, take a concealer that is the same colour as the darker. So you want a slightly darker concealer. So I have two concealer colours. I have a lighter one and a darker one. And you want to just take, I'll do it over my powder, I shouldn't really, but I've got a spot there. So you want to just take it and dab it on and just make sure that's blended in. So just cover up any imperfections that you have. And just make sure that you don't have any of those, and then powder on top as well. So your skin is nice and blurred. You're looking a bit pancakey because you're a bit flat at the moment, but yeah, so just kind of cover up those spots and powder. And as well, don't be shy with that powder, especially for dance. So yeah, then we'll move on to the next step. So, as I said, the skin does get a little bit flat just because you've kind of put on loads of powder and your skin is kind of, you lose the shape that you've created by highlighting. So the next thing I like to do is take a bronzer. Bronzer or contour, I use both and individually, but that's because I'm extra. You can use bronzer and contour for the same thing. So I'll explain as we go, but yeah, so I just dab into that contour as well, tap off the excess. And the places you want to place the bronzer are places where the sun would naturally hit you, so, and to create that face shape. So you want to go down the cheekbones, stroking up into the ear. So you can see there the difference. If you do this as well, helps you see. So you want to go up into that ear in circular motions with a big fluffy brush. So a big fluffy brush, just... I also then go along the jawline. Oh my god, so dark. Under the chin, because I have a double chin. So I like to go under the chin, and then definitely around the forehead. So on these temples here, see there? And then up into the forehead. A little bit on the nose, because it's cute. But yeah, so you want to focus in kind of like, if you think of it in a 3 motion, so 1, 2, 3. But with your bronzer, you can be a bit more liberal than you would be if you would doing it with contour, because it's a kind of like a... The difference between bronzer and a contour basically is it's more orangey. This doesn't look massively orangey, but in comparison to my contour shade, you can use this for both. And I'll show you the technique that you would use if you were going to use just a bronzer instead of like a contour colour, specific contour colour as well. So I'll show you the difference as I move on to contour. So the main difference between kind of like that contour colour is it's just more grey base. So it looks more like a shadow on the face. You can see that one. This one's really expensive. Don't get it. It's amazing, but it's really expensive. So what I then do with a contour colour, and this is a kind of contour technique. So I take a smaller kind of flat, so it's less fluffy. This is the difference between the brushes. So they're just smaller and more pronounced. And you will just be really careful about where you put that colour. So it's a very similar technique, but it's kind of like the eyeshadow again. It's just adding that definition to the face in a more concentrated area. You'll see the difference between one side of my face, like pancake face, and then like snatched face. So yeah, it's just a more defined thing. I also like to carry it out from my eyeshadow with a contour there, and then once again around the forehead. I also then, because when you've got, you can do this with a bronzer, just buff it out as well with your foundation brush or a fluffier brush, just to make sure it's all nice and blended. I also find as well, so you can see, I've obviously haven't contoured this side, I've contoured and bronzered that side. So you can see the difference. So I'm just going to keep going, because I just like to, basically you want to draw it under your cheekbones, but you can draw yourself a new face. So I just kind of gradually take it higher. So I start actually under my cheekbone, yeah. And I gradually just blend it upwards as opposed to blending it down. Because if you blend it down, you create your cheekbones lower. And then I just blend it out. Also as well, you can see here, so I've got a lot of dark towards the outside of my face, but not towards the inside of my face. So what I like to do, you can do this with your bronzer, your contour, whatever, is take that brush and run it along the sides of your nose, just to bring some of that dark dimension that you've got outside to the centre of your face. And then I also like to draw across the tip of my nose, because it also as well kind of gives you a bit of a nose job, which we love to see. But yeah, so it kind of brings that outer dimension that you've got to the inner portion of your face. I'll do the other half and come back to you. So I've done contour on both sides. And this is a nice little trick as well for creating a really, really, really snatched face. So where you've done that contour, if you take that powder, and either you can use a sponge or just like a brush or something, and you want to put that light right underneath it. Obviously this is a loose powder, but you could do this with a non-loose powder. And you want to just let it sit for a minute. And by a minute I mean a while. So yeah, you can, this is a non-loose powder, but you can also do this with a, you could do this with a non-loose powder, sorry, what am I even saying? And you want to just make sure that highlight is really there. So you're basically building back in the highlight under that contour to make sure you really get that contrast and you really get those snatched cheekbones. It kind of brightens everything, and just puts that brightness back into the face. And then I'm just gonna go over some of the powder there. So yeah, you want to let that sit while you're doing the next steps, which is some more eyeshadow.